She was the quiet wonder. He was the next big thing. That is, until it all fell apart, they were what people thought was true love. But this isn't like any other Hollywood breakup. Lisa Bonet kept this secret from Jason Momoa for many years, while they were married. A secret that was so bad that it broke the illusion of the perfect pair and showed something much darker. You'll know why this is bad, not just sad, once you know what it was. A false sense of peace. When they were together, Lisa Bonet and Jason Momoa had the perfect love story. Very private, but obviously attractive. The public thought they were a great match because they were both creative and caring, passionate and peaceful. Jason's tall stature and rough charm went well with Lisa's dreamy, reflective personality. People saw them as live proof that two very different worlds, one of fame and one of solitude, could come together and form something greater. Their love story seemed to be a perfect mix of spiritual awakening and Hollywood glitz. There were cracks in the surface, though, long before they could be seen by anyone else. Even though they were very in tune with each other, they had started to live in different mental worlds. Lisa had always been private and close to her roots, and she felt torn between her need for privacy and the constant attention that came with Jason's meteoric rise to fame. Lisa had always been the mysterious, almost enigmatic partner to Jason's over-the-top character. But as the years went by, she started to feel the weight of the public's attention. It wasn't just the cameras that flashed that made her feel bad. The weight of keeping a truth so close to her heart that she couldn't bring herself to speak. It was too much for her. The rising emotional gap was made worse by Jason's devoted fans and their shared fixation on their relationship. But in the end, the truth would come out, showing the deeply rooted problems that had grown in their seemingly perfect relationship. That's the price of fame and freedom. Jason's work took off, and so did the demands of his newfound fame. He was thrown into a world of red carpets, magazine covers, and private premieres that everyone knew about. These things offered him more power, fame, and respect. Jason felt farther away from the world Lisa had made with her own hands, with each compliment, though. Because the media was always interested in his work, every moment he spent with co-stars, and every conversation that seemed normal was watched closely. The paparazzi caught Jason making several nice public appearances with stars such as Emilia Clarke and Amber Heard. Even though the pictures probably didn't show anything bad, Lisa allegedly got tired of being the good wife when tabloids used them to spread rumors. There were fewer and fewer boundaries between work and personal life, and things that seemed innocent to him started to make Lisa lose faith in him. Lisa's fame had always been both good and bad for her. Before her relationship with Jason, she had stayed out of the spotlight in Hollywood. She wanted to focus on her spiritual growth and her family. She loved her quiet life, but it started to feel impossible to keep up. The bright lights and public attention that came with Jason's fame took away some of the privacy she used to value. But the feeling of being alone that came with being in the spotlight all the time was even worse. While Jason enjoyed the attention of millions, Lisa grew more and more alone, trying to figure out how to balance the woman she used to be with the life she was now living. As the cameras stopped rolling and the fame started to wear off, Lisa started to face a hard truth about her relationship. Jason's public displays of love for other people and his flirtations with co-stars were not just harmless moments. Not only did they hurt their relationship, but they also broke the trust they had built up between them. She had always been there for Jason's work, cheering him on and wishing him the best of luck. His fame, on the other hand, made her feel even more alone. The cracks in their relationship were getting bigger behind the scenes, even though they looked good in public. Lisa was living with the quiet pain of a truth she couldn't even tell herself yet. It took Lisa years to figure out her secret the days turned into months and then years into years. She was worn out. She was sick of the act, the lies, and not being seen in a relationship that was supposed to make her feel better. She just couldn't hold it in any longer. It felt like the deception was finally too much to bear, and it was only a matter of time before the truth came out. The rumors that were being passed around would surely cause fights. Fights that were so bad they hurt your gut, where feelings ran high and words cut deep. Lisa would have to face Jason about the accusations, which would be very hard for her. Every talk was weighed down by fears and betrayals that were never said. During those times, Jason would say sorry and promise to make things better. But the trust that had held them together in the past started to break down. Lisa would try to forget about the past and move on. But every lie left a scar that never fully healed. The public didn't see how alone Lisa felt during this chaos, and she found it hard to accept. She hid the cracks and put on a united front, which hid the chaos inside. Her sense of who she was started to fall apart. It used to be that her artistic freedom and joy made her unique. When she was alone with her thoughts, she would wonder if the constant pain was worth the show. She felt safe writing in her notebook, where the truth could flow freely without fear of being judged, and she could say things she couldn't say out loud. An ongoing pattern of harm. The routine became too familiar over time. There would be rumors of scandal, which would lead to fights that seemed too much like the ones that had happened before. It seemed like every new betrayal was the same as the last one. It was like a never-ending loop. When Lisa told a friend, "I felt invisible," and each deception caused more damage than the last, but one was worse than the rest. It made headlines. When Jason had an on-set connection with a co-star while shooting C in 2019. Lisa didn't think much of it at the time, but people who were there say it was the first real sign of mistrust. As Jason's business took off, they kept arguing about the same things. After going to the Golden Globes in 2020, Lisa lost it in public when Jason stayed behind to talk to a famous model while they were meant to be going home together. People couldn't help but notice the trend. His attention was always going somewhere else. His charm wore off on everyone but her. Lisa was hurt by more than just what Jason did. It was the emotional toll of having to deal with his mistakes over and over again, plus her desire to keep up their image. The pressure from the world made the weight she already felt even heavier. Like clockwork, the same deception happened, over and over again. Later that year, Jason was taken with his co-star in Hawaii. Even though they were both smiling, Lisa could tell that things were getting tense between them. As soon as Jason got home, Lisa told him what she had seen. There was always a little too much attention and flirting, which made the proof hard to see. He would say sorry, but the harm was already done. Lisa kept seeing the same thing happen over and over. The fights happened more often, and the attempts to make peace seemed less sincere. He swore that things would be different every time. Lisa tried to believe him every time he said he would change, but she knew in her heart that hope was short-lived and that nothing really changed. The cracks kept showing up again and again. The lies would always come back. Lisa quickly came to the realization that she was alone in the relationship, but not for long. She still loved Jason very much. Something else had changed into it. She was tired of being in a relationship that didn't feel like her own. No longer was there joy in the quiet times. There isn't the spark that used to make their relationship feel so real. All she could feel was the never-ending tiredness, the never-ending pain, and the question that lingered in her thoughts. How much longer could she act like nothing was wrong? Lisa was not present at any of Jason's big career events in 2021. Fans were happy when he got the part in the Aquaman movie, but Lisa pulled away even more. An Instagram post showed their last moment as a family, but it didn't show what was going on behind the smiles. Jason had friends, co-stars, and awards all around him. Lisa thought she was a ghost, though. Lisa talked about her feelings in a rare interview with Interview magazine in 2022. She said, "Learning to be authentically me has been the most painful lesson." It was a rare look into the quiet storm that had been building beneath her calm exterior. Afterward, she said, "I was sick of it all. These simple but all-encompassing words showed how hard it was to try to make a friendship work for years. Lisa had a painful realization when she was completely worn out, even though her emotions were always a mess. It didn't matter how many times someone said sorry or how many times they promised to make things right. It hurt her too much emotionally, and she wasn't sure if she could keep going with it. It was finally impossible to ignore the cracks that had been hidden for so long. They were signs that the base was breaking apart. The moment of clear resignation. Lisa Bonet and Jason Momoa's relationship got worse over the years, and it could no longer be fixed. What started out as an exciting and passionate love story had turned into a painful fight for life. There was no longer any glitz and thrill in their early days together. Instead, there was the weight of betrayal and unsolved conflict. There was more than just rumors about Jason's affairs. People were betrayed in real time, and sometimes in front of other people. Every new charge and whisper made her think of how different the man she used to love was from the partner who was slowly pulling away. It was stifling on an emotional level. The never-ending circle of fighting and forgiving each other, followed by empty promises of change, made it impossible to get out of the situation. The house was quiet during those long nights Lisa couldn't sleep, and she had to face the truth that they could not save their relationship, the constant stress of having a secret that was too big to tell, and a partner who wasn't ready to see it. Instead of love, there was a quiet, suffocating indifference. Lisa had reached a point where she could no longer get better. She had lost hope and was now filled with dread. This understanding didn't come on quickly or in a big way. It was the end of years of small cuts that made it harder to handle the next one. At that time, Lisa knew that their relationship was broken beyond repair, and that any attempt to fix it would be harmful to both of them. When they stated they were splitting up in January 2022, the public story had been carefully shaped to make it seem like they both chose to end the marriage, and that it was a natural part of a family going through a change. Their joint statement called the end of their relationship a revolution in the midst of transformation. It made the end of their relationship sound philosophical and inevitable. But people who knew the couple well saw the cracks long before they were made public. Lisa had been carrying a heavy load behind her well-thought-out words and comments that no one could see. Lisa's secret was never an affair or a big betrayal that made the news. It was much more sneaky than that. The trust that had been built up over the years was slowly being broken down. It was heavy to know that Jason's actions had already broken what had been a sacred link. While the media continued to focus on their public image, people close to them started to talk about how Lisa had been suffering a loss for a longer time than anyone knew. The mental toll had slowly worn her down, and even though she tried to stay calm, she was broken. The world never saw the real story, which was that the family was tired behind the perfect front. The breakup wasn't something that both he and Grace agreed on. Instead, it was the natural end of a relationship that had been damaged by mental neglect and cheating. Lisa's quiet loss of hope for a future with her partner was not at all like the idealized version that the world would later hear. Others didn't notice her slow, private falling apart. Only those closest to her saw her pull away from herself, leaving behind a shell of the woman who used to stand strong next to Jason. After the event, the United Statement came out. Lisa was calm and polite, but her heart had already broken inside long before she told anyone. There had been a lot of quiet over the truth. It wasn't just the end of her marriage for her either. It was the last thing I did to let go. Everything they had been through and everything she had given up now seemed like a long time ago. Lisa, on the other hand, knew the truth. She had been through enough. It was finally time to leave. After effects and broken dreams. Jason Momoa's public life changed into a new path after they broke up, one that was ruled by romantic relationships and efforts to change how people saw him. His charm and captivating appearance used to be the only things that caught people's attention, But now the spotlight was also on the chaos in his personal life. It seemed like he was eager to show that he could move on from the breakup with ease by starting new relationships, each one more public than the last. But for people who had seen their relationship fall apart from the inside, the real cost of the breakup was much higher than what the news stories said. The impact wasn't just a breakup for those closest to him. There was no family left because of it. Jason went on what seemed like an endless number of romantic adventures to hide the pain of his failed marriage, but they could never fill the hole they left behind. He had given up something much more valuable in his search for fame and love, the trust of the woman who had been with him for a long time. Their relationship slowly and painfully fell apart. It hurt the most when they were alone and out of sight of everyone else. The emotional fallout was often pushed to the side as he tried to show the world a polished version of himself. But people who knew him well could see the cracks in his front. There were cracks in the relationship because of betrayal, silent hurt, and the fact that the lies were too heavy for it to handle. Lisa Bonet, on the other hand, stayed out of the public eye even more. Jason looked for comfort in the spotlight, but Lisa, on the other hand, found comfort in quiet, away from the attention of others. But even though she was alone, she carried a secret with her, a terrible truth that she had kept hidden for years. She had never told him the whole story, and it showed how their love was falling apart. The drama of Lisa's famous life kept going, and the world kept turning. Lisa's silence said a lot. She seemed calm, but she had a story to tell. She had loved with all her heart, but her relationship was full of betrayals that made her feel worn out. She was hurt not only because her marriage had ended, but also because she had loved a man for years who, despite his fame, had made her feel invisible and ignored. The real cost of their years together was kept from the public, so people who only saw the flash and glam would never fully understand it. There were quiet times of terrible sadness behind the scenes, and each one left a scar that could never quite heal. For Lisa, the breakup was more than just a change in her relationship status. It was the result of years of giving up things they wanted, being emotionally worn out, and carrying around pain that no one knew about. The last account. Lisa had been alone for years because she was stuck in a relationship where being there felt more like a duty than a bond. Even though she felt emotionally and mentally alone, she stayed in the marriage because that's what people expected of her and loved about her. With his lofty height and undeniable good looks, Jason Momoa seemed to have everything anyone could want. But behind the shades, he was a man who was lost. His mind was moving away from her and the life they shared together and toward the responsibilities of his job and public image. His attention strayed too often to other things. Jason was not mean. It wasn't his intention. It's not like he hit anyone or yelled at them. But what he left behind was much worse. His lack of feeling. His mind wandered. He wasn't always there, and his love seemed to be going to everyone but the woman who had been by his side for so long. The breakup wasn't caused by a single affair or deception. It was the steady hum of being ignored, the way she was overlooked and thrown out, and the fact that she didn't have her partner anymore. These flirtations weren't just bad decisions. These things happened over and over again, and Lisa put up with them in silence. The shame they caused wore down her sense of self-worth. Every magazine cover that praised Jason as a hero, or his relationships with other women, made her quiet down even more. Lisa didn't leave because of one dangerous time. No, her leaving was the end of years of quiet pain that she avoided showing. On her birthday, she was by herself, and at family events, she was just the quiet person behind him. She was the forgotten partner in a relationship that everyone thought was perfect. For the most part, Lisa Bonet did not keep a secret. But the truth is that there was one moment that made her give up. It wasn't a quiet personal betrayal this time either. After years of building up, it was the last truth. There were reports. When Jason showed up to the No Time to Die red carpet event in London without Lisa at the end of 2021, A lot of people didn't know that Lisa had found a bunch of texts on Jason's phone the night before. Even though they weren't direct, they were close enough to break down any faith that was still there after it had started to fall apart. There were sexual hints and secret conversations with someone Lisa knew from his cast. It wasn't the first time, but this time was different. There were rumors going around, but Lisa kept them from the truth with grace and quiet pride. She hid it. Not only did she protect Jason's image, but she also kept up the appearance of a happy family for their kids and everyone else. She let herself be blamed and suffered in silence so that the world would only see what she wanted them to see. She lost her peace when she did that. Lisa hid more than just what was going on in her relationship with Jason. She also hid the fact that she was going through terrible mental pain every day and knew that no one else could see her battle. For a long time, she carried the mental weight of the relationship and fought for something that wasn't there anymore. She gave herself to a relationship that was no longer fair for either of them. She didn't tell anyone about him because she had loved him before, and his children were his. They made promises to each other, so she didn't fight back. They had worked hard to build a good image, so she didn't say anything because it would have hurt it. There was no doubt in her mind that Jason Momoa was not the same guy she had built a life with before. The man that everyone kept celebrating. The person they put on a pedestal was not the same person she knew. In that moment of quiet clarity, she understood something very important. She was too old for him. There wasn't a big bang when they had to face the truth. It came as a whisper, slowly tearing apart what they had built. And it wasn't a secret that broke them up in the end. Lisa had been hiding the truth for a long time. Being faithful could not make up for the fact that she had been emotionally absent during that marriage. Lisa Bonet hid this from Jason Momoa while they were married, and it's bad. Which do you think is worse? You can show betrayal or silence that kills you slowly? Drop your ideas in the box below. Thanks for watching this movie with us. See you next time.